Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Unlikely Librarian 85, who says, I need my husband to agree to moving to another city because I have feelings for brother-in-law. My female 39 husband, male 50, of 11 years, and his sister, female 41, are very close. We meet her and her husband, brother-in-law, male 40, all the time. Sunday dinner is always with them at our or their place. Occasionally other family members join us from my or my husband's side of the family, but the constant is us four, and sister-in-law's 3 children. I get along very well with sister-in-law and brother-in-law. We never had issues. I started having feelings for brother-in-law about 5 years ago. I know people here would call it emotional affair, but it wasn't yet. I kept it very secret and nobody noticed. I love my husband very much and don't want to ruin our beautiful marriage. We are awesome together and our bond is strong. My feelings for brother-in-law were very confusing at first, and I went years without realizing what they were because I love my husband, so how can I love another? When brother-in-law turned 40, they had a big party and I stayed after to clean because sister-in-law had to take care of the children, so it was me and brother-in-law cleaning. He was still a bit tipsy and he told me that he's been in love with me since I married my husband. I was shocked. He has always been nice to me and complimented me, but I never felt anything more. I tried to ignore him, so he said it again. I told him to go to bed. He tried to argue, but I insisted that he went to bed and let me clean by myself. He probably knows that I love him too because of something he said. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we stopped pretending and just told them? We only live once. How did he know? I cried for weeks afterwards, and when my husband saw that I was sad, he was very concerned and was so nice to me, and it made me cry even more. The guilt is physically painful. I've developed ulcers. This happened last summer, and ever since I've tried to avoid seeing sister-in-law and brother-in-law. With how frequent we met before, there was never one good excuse. Soon my husband was irritated with me, accusing me of not liking his family. Sister-in-law called a few times to wonder. Now she has started saying that I wanted to come between her and her brother because I never liked their closeness. I go to the dinners and ignore brother-in-law altogether, and sister-in-law is mad that it feels like I hate her when I actually love her like a sister. My husband got a new job offer, a city that's 20 hours away. I want him to take it, but it's in a very small town, and he's surprised that I, a renowned city girl, want to move to a small town. I don't know what to do. I want my husband to take this job, but I don't know how to convince him. Brother-in-law texts me begging not to do it, and he promised not to bother me again, but just not to move away. It doesn't sit well with me. As long as it was one-sided, it felt less serious, but now it feels like an emotional affair, and I don't want to be in it. What can I do? And we do have a couple of updates to this post as well, but we're going to move to the comments with her Grinchness, who says, take the emotions out of it for a minute. I'm guessing by the close relationship and frequency of dinners that you are still in your hometown. How good is this job for your husband's career? How about the effect on yours? Try to make a pro-cons list for the good and the bad about the move, keeping your feelings out of it. Focus on yourselves. Maybe you want to expand your horizons. Small towns can have big community feels. You can get a bigger home or land for less money. Maybe you have hobbies you need more space for. Maybe lower cost of living lets you save more so you can travel more. All things worth discussing. OP responds saying, it's a career jump for my husband, but the con is that it's a very small and secluded town. I can find a job too, so it won't hurt my career. That's my problem. We always socialize with my in-laws, every Sunday at least. Now I know how he feels about me is uncomfortable and feels like cheating. Drusilla says, wow, that's quite the pickle jar you are in. So brother-in-law fell in love with you 11 years ago, and you and him 5 years ago, but both you still love your respective spouses. Yeah, not sure how to untangle this one. You may be right that the pressure, fear of acting on feelings may ease up if you and hubby move 20 hours away. This is a tough one. Oof. Redman says, keep in mind this dude was trying to drunkenly confess his love to you while his wife took care of his kids. Doesn't seem like he's the best person, to be honest. Rhapsody says, years ago, I, a married woman, developed feelings for a good friend of both myself and my husband. He is also married. I wouldn't necessarily call it love, but it was one hell of a crush. I did the only thing I could think of. I told my husband I can't hang out with him anymore. Here's why. He lived a couple of hours away, so it was easier to find excuses. I always had to work, we couldn't find a babysitter. My husband was understanding, gave me quite a bit of teasing, and allowed me to back away gracefully from the friendship. It took 3 years for my feelings to go away, and even then it was because my husband came back from a visit and told me our friend had picked up smoking, again after years and years of quitting, which is a huge turn-off for me. I don't know your marriage or your situation. I don't know if being honest with your husband about your brother-in-law and why you want him to take a job would help or not, but I think my situation was made easier because my husband and I have complete trust with each other over the fact that neither of us would ever cheat. And one final comment from Naima, who says, first of all, I applaud your level of concern for your husband and the bond between you two. You seem to care greatly about your husband and you are trying to navigate a very difficult situation with as much grace as possible. Second, you did not do anything wrong. Feelings cannot be controlled. Imagine if we could just control what we feel at all times. It would make mental health care obsolete. You didn't make this happen, it happened to you. You are not at fault for what you are feeling. Don't blame yourself for developing a crush, it happens to everyone. Your situation just makes it very inconvenient, but that doesn't mean that you aren't allowed natural human emotions. I do think that your best course of action here would be to tell your husband. We seem to have the idealistic idea of marriage in our society, where you marry someone and you never catch feelings for someone else ever again over the course of 30, 40, 50 years. Obviously, that idea is unrealistic and toxic. Learning about your crush will be hard for your husband, but it may allow you two to get to know each other even better and to develop healthy coping strategies for the case that one of you crushes on a person outside of your marriage, which can and will happen should you two remain married for many years to come. It's always better to face difficulties head on than to pretend they don't exist. Furthermore, affairs, please excuse me for labeling it as such, I know nothing that is going on between you two, feast on the excitement of having a secret. If you tell your husband about your feelings, chances are good they will subside eventually because the thrill of doing or feeling the forbidden is gone, and your crush will become duller and duller with time. I wish you all the best. So then OP came in to update their post a few days later, which said, "Hi, I was here a week ago. Read that post because I will not repeat my story. I honestly didn't expect to be so judged and hated. I read my post over and over again, trying to understand where there could have been any misunderstanding about me being interested in acting on my feelings. There was none, so I guess people just wanted to judge, which is sad because I've seen how people can be supportive in here. Anyhow, I stumbled upon a few kind souls that didn't treat me like I was a disgusting human garbage, so I'm here again with an update, because my life just got more complicated and I'm so desperate. Those who read my first post know that I haven't talked to anybody about this. I want to stress the point that I've never once contemplated acting on my feelings towards brother-in-law, not even when he confessed he had feelings for me. On the contrary, when he told me that he was in love with me, I was more adamant to do everything in my power to forget him. I've never spoken or looked his way since that confession, and I'm not planning to ever speak to him again either. After my post, I had a talk again to my husband about the job in the little town. I told him that I wanted the new adventure, especially when it came with a 25% increase in his salary and a higher up position. My husband has been complaining about how he isn't advancing in his career in our city. I told him this could be the step he needed. I'm a nurse and I could easily find jobs anywhere we went because we have a shortage in healthcare staff everywhere. The idea started to grow on him. He was skeptical because of the distance of our families, but he was intrigued. He booked a job interview that is supposed to happen on Wednesday. If he took the job, we'd be relocating around New Year. I was so hopeful that I could finally breathe. Today is Sunday and it was, per usual, the day we meet up with family for dinner. This didn't happen this week, however, and I'm spending this Sunday alone. My husband is staying with sister-in-law because earlier this week, brother-in-law broke the news to her that he wanted a divorce. Sister-in-law is beside herself with shock and my husband is there to try and mediate between her and her husband. Brother-in-law is refusing to talk to any of them and has only been there twice to see the kids. My husband told me that now he couldn't take this job because he needed to stay here and support his sister. I understand where he is coming from, but for me, all the horror and anxiety is back. What can I do? I feel trapped, like the walls are closing in around me. I can't tell my husband my true reasons. I've tried so many times, but I just can't do it. I love him so much and I know him very well. He will be hurt and devastated. We've had issues throughout our marriage with him not being able to perform due to health problems, and we haven't had sex in over 8 years. He is so self-conscious about. I just can't hurt him about something like this. I think my options are now to stay put and support my husband and sister-in-law. If they, brother and sister-in-law, can save their marriage in any way, then maybe my husband could find a new job opportunity in another city in the future and agree to move. If they divorce, then I won't be seeing brother-in-law anymore. OP then updated the post a month later, which says, I don't know how I feel about this. It is probably too early for me to do this horrible thing when my sister-in-law just got separated, but I don't see any improvement in the horizon. Please read my other post for context, but if you don't want to, sister and brother-in-law has separated about a month ago, and my husband has been busy being sister-in-law's support. When my husband told me he was not taking the job up north because of sister-in-law's marital problems, I understood that and was supportive. We've always been close to my sister-in-law, and my husband loves his sister and her children. I always admired their bond because I was never close to my family. He stopped spending weekends with me and instead staying with sister-in-law and the children, and even several days a week when he doesn't even text me after work that he was spending the evening with the children. I didn't mind it because this is all new and sister-in-law isn't coping well after the separation. I told my husband that I missed him though, and that I wanted to be with him and maybe I should tag along some days. He said that I was being selfish for wanting the attention now. His sister needed support. I should be more understanding. She and brother-in-law have been together since they were very young, and she wasn't adjusting well with these new changes. I felt horrible and so selfish. I thought that I should be supportive. Every Christmas, on Boxing Day, my husband and I travel somewhere warm and spend 2 to 3 weeks. It's been our tradition since we met. We booked this trip months early, April. Yesterday, when I was talking about our trip, my husband was so surprised. He said that he was actually astonished that I thought that we would just go on with our plans when sister-in-law's life is turned upside down. I told him that this was our thing and that his sister has her own family. I wanted my family, him. I told him that I fully understood that she needs his support, but that I've been very lonely lately. He told me to drop the subject. Today, I chatted with a traveling agency to see if I could add my sister-in-law and her children. I thought that maybe it would be a good change of climate. Well, they would have to take a separate flight, but other than that, it was possible, even with such short notice to add them, so I called my husband to tell him the news. He was very excited. When he came home later, he told me that his sister didn't agree, however, so we are staying. I asked him why, and he said that she didn't want to be around happy couples right now. It was all I could do to hold back my tears. When my husband got that job offer in the small town up north, I started browsing job opportunities, and I sent my CV around. One hospital answered me a week ago. I think I want to take the job. After what happened today, I just logged in and made an appointment for a job interview. I know that my sister-in-law is hurting and that my husband is admirable for being there for her. This is just all so new for everyone and a big life change for sister-in-law and her children, but I feel like I'm number 2 in my own life. I feel neglected and like I have the supporting role in my own movie. I'm leaving my husband. I'm taking the new job and I will go with the plans and move to that small town and get away from everything and everyone. I think I need this new start. Judge me all you want. I know you will. An edit for an update. Thank you so much, everyone. I never expected the amount of heartwarming comments and the awards. I've been crying since yesterday reading your beautiful DMs. I felt like some of you hit the nail on many details that I've left out, and I'm astounded and even scared that some of you seem to know my innermost thoughts and fears. But then I remember that nobody who knows me in person knows any of this. I love my husband. I'll probably never love anyone like I love him, but yes, I have been very unhappy for a long time. As I said, I always admired my husband for the love he has for his sister. He basically raised her because their parents were having issues and she was left for him to raise when he was a child himself. His warmth and compassion is what made me fall for him, but does it make sense that it is also what's making me miserable? I've always known I'm his second, but I've always thought that this will change with time. First I thought because I'm not family, and after I became his wife I thought because we don't have children. When sister-in-law started having children, I felt that I was pushed down the ladder of my husband's priorities. I've told him this before and he just told me that I was being ridiculous, competing with children. I remember telling him that it wasn't just that. We should be each other's priority because even if his sister loves him, he is not her priority and never will be because she has a family now. We never agreed on this matter. I felt like there was some truth in what he said too. I was competing with children and his sister. Besides, I thought he would be there when I needed him, except he wasn't. My mental health has been declining this year, but he wasn't as warm and compassionate as I always known him to be. The very things that made me so much in love with him. And these past months since brother-in-law confessed his feelings, my husband never once tried to listen. Never once he tried to understand why I didn't want to join them for the usual Sunday dinner, and never once told me he was staying with me instead, since I obviously didn't want to go. On the contrary, it became something he was bothered about, even with my body physically reacting to my mental state. I've developed ulcers and lost crazy amounts of weight and hair. I guess him cancelling the Christmas trip was just the straw. I love him, but I can't anymore. I've spoken to him today before he went to his sister. I told him that he has known for months now that I'm unhappy and that I wanted to leave the city. I told him that I couldn't do it anymore, and I apologized that I chose this very inconvenient time when his sister is suffering, but I couldn't do it anymore. He looked at me and was silent, and the disappointment in his eyes just broke me. He said that he couldn't believe that I have no compassion whatsoever when a family member is suffering, and yet I still want to go about my life as usual. Would the world end if we skipped our tradition once when he is needed somewhere else? I started crying because I couldn't reach out to him, and yes, if simplified, he is in the right. This looks like me sulking about a trip. I told him that I couldn't do this anymore. We're talking past each other and none of us wants to understand the other. He left. He texts me now that he never thought me to be selfish and that I should do what I see fit. He will not stand in my way. I don't know if he will be coming back. And now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Nift office worker who says, am I the arsehole for telling a colleague their disability is not a free pass to be an arsehole and getting them suspended? I, 29 male, have started a new position at the beginning of November with a decent sized law firm in my city. Things have been going great up until this week. The first 3 weeks I have been here, I've heard lots of horror stories around a member of the office we will call Jay. I've heard that the last 2 people that took this position were basically bullied out of the post by Jay, and that anybody who makes any complaints to HR basically get told to put up and shut up for 2 reasons. Firstly, Jay, despite not being the most popular person in the office, is very good at what she does, to the point the company sees her as invaluable, and secondly, Jay is a wheelchair user, is apparently very quick to throw the discrimination card around as soon as something doesn't go her way. Another key point to this tale is that I use a stoma bag, and have done since I was a baby. Anyway, this week is the first week I've interacted with Jay, as she was on annual leave for my first 3 weeks with the company. I was using the disabled bathroom to empty my bag when I started hearing a loud banging on the door. I said one moment and opened the door to a lady in a wheelchair, the infamous Jay. I was berated for about 5 minutes, things such as, why is a healthy young man using a disabled bathroom, I should be ashamed, etc., drawing the attention of everyone in the nearby vicinity before she even let me speak. I eventually got a word in, reminded her that not all disabilities are blatantly obvious, and lifted my shirt up to show her my bag. She went bright red and I got on with my day. The next day I go to use a disabled bathroom to find a poster on the door saying, wheelchair users only. I didn't make a huge fuss, but happened to mention to the colleague across the table from me, have you seen Jay's latest stunt? This is the woman who told me to watch out for Jay initially. I go home for the day and return the next to an email saying to report to HR as soon as I clock in. I get in there to be told that I'm receiving a verbal warning as my tittle-tattle in the office caused a huge bust up between Jay and my mentor. Jay was in the office and smirking all the while. I lost my cool and told Jay that the only reason she is still in the job is because of how long she had been with the business and that she isn't going to bully me out of my position like she had my 2 predecessors. I also told her that I apologized that she had been dealt a bad hand, but it doesn't give her the right to treat people like shit, that she is no longer the only disabled person in the office, so she isn't going to keep getting away with her stunts. I then told HR about the bathroom incident and what followed. Eventually, Jay was suspended pending investigation. I must admit, I felt great on the day, but as the week has gone on, I can't help but feel guilty. I wanted to teach her a bit of a lesson, not put her job at risk in times like we are having, cost of living crisis, etc. So am I the arsehole? Oh dearie me, we're going to start off with the comments from No Trouble, who says not the arsehole. I'm also disabled and only need to use a wheelchair on very bad days, and oftentimes I don't need to use my crutches indoors, so I'll put them out of the way somewhere. The amount of shit I've had off people is bewildering. The audacity of putting wheelchair users only on a disabled bathroom, incredibly illegal. The reason they're taking it so seriously is they could be sued for having a sign like that up. At a law firm as well. As for her job, she's literally driven 2 people to leave their jobs in uncertain times. This karma is her own doing, not yours. Well done for standing up for yourself, not to mention fellow disabled people, some of which may be in your office and you just don't know. MD Thomas says, first of all, no one gets to decide who can and cannot use the handicap accessible restroom. Yes, priority should be given to those with disability, but it can be used by persons without disability if no one else is using it. Second, as others have said, that sign is illegal. If Jay wants her own exclusive bathroom, she should ask the company for one. I doubt she would get it. She's a bully and is facing consequences of her actions, not the arsehole. And one more comment from Dizzy Yard, who says not the arsehole. Her disability is not more valid than yours. And you are absolutely correct that not all disabilities are visible. I'd argue that needing to empty your bag was vastly more important than whatever she needed to do in what she thought was her own private bathroom. You did not get her suspended. She did that to herself when she tried to start a fight in the bathroom. She continued to double down on her deplorable behavior by trying to prevent you from using a stall that is there for people with disabilities. There is probably a record of her bullying employees, but with little proof in he said, she said situations. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Do you think Opie should feel guilty at all? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for getting involved, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.